Good afternoon and welcome to Premier League Live for the first doubleheader of the season here on LFS. The second match week of the Premier League, and yesterday delivered us 7 big results in the Premier League, including the last season's top 2, both recording victories. It started yesterday lunchtime when Brighton needed a 95th minute winner to knock off Manchester United by 2-1 at the Amex. West Ham victorious after their defeat against Aston Villa at home last week. Julian Lopetegui gets his first win in charge of the Hammers against Crystal Palace, who have now lost back-to-back London derbies. Fulham got victory over Leicester, who made it tough, but Fulham did edge the result to win by 2-1 at the Craven Cottage. Ipswich actually had the bottle to take the lead against Manchester City, but they conceded 4 without reply, after which, including an Erling Haaland hat-trick, securing 3 points for Manchester City yesterday, extending their unbeaten home record to 31 games dating back to December of 2022. Forest got their first 3 points of the season on the road at St Mary's by a 1-goal victory. A simple result for Nottingham Forest, getting them the 3 points. A comfortable victory for Tottenham at home in their first home game of the season. Everton back-to-back big defeats. 3-0 last week, 4-0 this week. It is their worst start to a top-flight campaign in the club's history, losing 4-0 yesterday to Tottenham. And Arsenal needed a bit of hard work against Aston Villa. They were probably second best for the majority of the game, but their clinical finishing got them over the line, and Arsenal made it 6 out of 6 in terms of points. The table is as follows. Manchester City lead the way on 6 points with a better goal difference than everyone else. Brighton on 6, Arsenal on 6, and Tottenham make up the top 4 on 4 points. Forest also on 4 points. This afternoon we watch 3 games ultimately, 2 at 2 o'clock, and then 4:30 we watch Arne Slot's first game in charge of Liverpool at Anfield in the league against Brentford. But first, we're on the south coast as we watch Bournemouth take on Newcastle as our commentary game, whilst keeping an eye on Wolves taking on Chelsea at Molineux. To the teams for this one between Bournemouth and Newcastle, and Andoni Iraola, after his 1-1 draw with Nottingham Forest last week at the City Ground, makes quite a number of changes, 5 to be exact. Neto continues in goal, he captains the side. Julian Iraola, Ilya Zabarny, Marcus Senesi and Milos Kerkez make up the back 4. A midfield of Lewis Cook, Ryan Christie and Marcus Tavernier in a more attacking role. Antoine Semenyo, who scored that late equaliser for Bournemouth last week at the City Ground, he starts on the right wing. Justin Kluivert gets a start on the left wing, and a debut for their new striker Evan Nielsen. Can he step into the shoes of Dominic Solanke, who was a real record star here last season for Bournemouth and scored 2 goals, both goals in their 2-0 win over Newcastle here last season. For the travelling Newcastle, Eddie Howe back on his old stomping ground where he used to be the Bournemouth manager. He's still yet to win against his former side. The last time Newcastle beat Bournemouth in the Premier League, Eddie Howe was the Bournemouth manager. Nick Pope starts in goal for Newcastle. Valentino Livramento continues at right back, which is keeping the teeterings over whether Kieran Trippier will be at the club in the future. Emil Kraft and Dan Burn make up the centre-backs, and Lloyd Kelly, a former Cherry himself, starts in the back 4. Bruno Guimaraes is captaining Newcastle today. He's alongside Sean Longstaff and Joe Linton, who scored Newcastle's winner last week in their home game against Southampton. They were playing with 10 men at that point and got the victory. Jacob Murphy on right wing, Anthony Gordon, who's been pipped for other clubs but it looks like he's going to stay, he's on left wing, and Alexander Isak leads the line for Newcastle. The benches, as you can see either side, big changes and big appointments and some debuts as well. For Bournemouth against Newcastle, our first of our double header this Sunday on the Premier League. Kick-off at the Vitality Stadium is next. A very good afternoon and welcome to Premier League Live here on LFS for our first Sunday doubleheader of the season. It's only our second Premier League game of the season after our opener last Friday night. But we're back and we're going to be in a consistent form now for the next 36 weeks, 37 weeks, whatever it may be, in the Premier League. And this is only match week 2, but it's already starting to give us a few headlines, the Premier League. It always does give us some entertaining headlines to talk about after a week or two. You don't look at the league table until maybe the 10th week of the season when we're really in the thick of it. But you can start to see who's having a good start, who's really struggling in the early season, and who can really shock us this campaign. Well, Bournemouth and Newcastle want to remain unbeaten. They'll have to face each other and battle it out this afternoon to do so. Bournemouth will get us underway then on the south coast. They're in their red and black home strip. Newcastle in a changed away strip today of all white, I believe there. That is, it does look like it. There's a hint of blue on the sleeve, but mostly white for Newcastle. It's a sunny day on the south coast compared to some of the weather forecasting yesterday when the Brighton-Manchester United match, it was a downpour the whole way through the game. We're also watching another Premier League game in the process at the moment, also kicking off at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Wolves against Chelsea. Wolves beaten by Arsenal 2-0 last week at the Emirates. Chelsea beaten 2-0 by Manchester City at Stamford Bridge. Both looking for their first points of the season, and they take each other on at Molineux. I can give you the quick look at the team news for that one for you. There we are. There's the look at the team news. Sa and goal for Wolves. Doherty, Mosquera, Gomez and Ait-Nouri in the back four. Lemina the captain and Gomez in midfield. Bellegarde, Hwang and Cunha leading is Larson. For Chelsea, and they've lots to choose from. Sanchez in goal, Gusto, Fofana, Colwell, Cucurella the defence, Fernandes and Caicedo in midfield, Cole Palmer in the 10, Madueke off the right, Mudryk off the left, and Jackson leading the line. We'll keep an update on that one between Wolves and Chelsea all throughout the afternoon for you right until this one concludes. Of course, they run at the same time as each other, so we will update you if there's anything to tell you about from the game at Molineux. To here though, and here's Isak trying to make a run in behind, but well covered over by Ilya Zabarnyi, who rescues that one out for a throw-in early doors. Newcastle wanting to try and explore and dominate this game because they weren't really at their best last week. I watched the game back against Southampton and you could see it even with 11 men. They were really kind of poor, to be honest, Newcastle, and that's something that Eddie Howe will want to see a bit better from his team, better attacking football. As they go for this long throw into the box, flicked on, again headed clear by Bournemouth, who themselves will want to impose their attacking quality on Newcastle. They won't be afraid of this team. They're at home, their first home game of the season. They'll want to really exert dominance. As the ball goes back to Nick Pope, who's hoping to have an injury-free season after he was ravaged with injuries for the vast majority of last season, was Nick Pope. It's partly why Newcastle had such a bad kind of defensive record last season compared to the season before, where they were the joint best defence in the league. Only the 10th best defence in terms of goals conceded last season. As Tino Livramento wins a free kick. Try and take it quickly, but a wasted effort that one, as Bournemouth pick it back up again. Christie easily beaten off the ball. Guimaraes trying to feed it through as Gordon was trying to chase, but Zabarnyi got the better of him. Iraola. Of course, this is his first start. Julian Iraola from joining for Bournemouth, as Evan Nielsen trying to get involved early doors, and bit of a collision between the two players. The referee gives the free kick the way of Newcastle. Just see it again. It comes back to Iraola, just tries to chip it in behind, sends Evan Nielsen on the run, and I think it's Emil Kraft that is just battling with Evan Nielsen, and the Bournemouth number 9 just bundles him to the floor. It is a foul and a clear free kick to Newcastle, and we have a goal to tell you about at Molineux. I said we would keep up to date, and within 2 minutes it is the visitors that lead. Chelsea have taken the lead in that one. Enzo Maresca's side score their first goal in the Premier League this season, and it is their star striker, Nicholas Jackson, who has given Chelsea the early lead. It is Wolves 0, Chelsea 1. And of course, we'll keep you up to date with all the happenings from that one. Let's just hope they don't steal all our goals today. Neto has the armband for Bournemouth. Goes long, trying to target the run of Tavernier there, but again, easily beaten off the ball. Here's Kraft. There's a bit of a tussle there with Tino Livramento, who again wins a free kick. Marcus Tavernier again penalised. The referee making sure he's got control of this game early doors. The referee this afternoon, David Coote. VAR, Tim Robinson. Let's hope we don't need to hear very much from Tim Robinson today. The less VAR intervention, the better. Guimaraes to Livramento. Of course, let's talk about Tino Livramento. Started last week, starting this week. Eddie Howe said that there was nothing much to read into it in his pre-match interview into why Kieran Trippier's on the bench again, but he did mention that he's still recovering from that spell at the Euros and also still trying to get back to full training. He said he hasn't trained fully throughout the last week, so it's nothing more than that, according to Eddie Howe. And also, in that interview, did say that Kieran Trippier is massively part of Newcastle's future. Now, I don't know if that's a naive thing to believe, but, I mean, future is a bit of an extreme word to say for a 33-year-old. Here's Livramento, trying to force it in behind for Murphy to chase, but just too narrow, that ball. Easily gathered by Senesi. Good header there by Murphy, brought down by Isak. Tries to get past Senesi, does well with his feet. Isak off the right, trying to deliver it into the box, and the header is over the bar from Anthony Gordon. Good opportunity. A nice link up between the front three of Newcastle there. It was Murphy that played the ball first. Isak drove out to the right hand side, got past Senesi, just lifted it across the box. And it's a really good opportunity for Anthony Gordon to try and head it in. He just couldn't get the right connection to it. It just goes over the bar. Might come off the Bournemouth defender actually. Last does take a deflection, so it is a corner. So they go short from this corner. Longstaff. And the shot is skied over the bar that time by Anthony Gordon from a long distance sight. And there is Kieran Trippier on the bench. Oh, there's a bit of nervousness back there from Neto. We just had the camera angle on Kieran Trippier and it just snapped back, and Neto was messing about with the ball and had to go long with it. Seen quite a number of things to do with that in the Premier League. I was watching the highlights from yesterday's games, and there was a lot of playing out from the back and simple mistakes that, I mean, at times weren't punished, but really could have easily have been. I get the whole idea. It's the trendy thing to do now. Play it from the back. Everybody wants to play it from the back, and your goalkeeper has to dribble on the ball and kind of roll around attackers. At times, it's just not necessary. And you can see multiple times in a season where teams that maybe don't have the highest echelons of quality and trying to play it from the back commit mistakes. I mean, we literally, in a Newcastle game last week, Southampton did it, and it led to the Newcastle goal. They tried to play it from the back, lazy pass, and not focusing on who's pressing who, and they get pressed, closed down, and Newcastle are in. And they're in again here. Sean Longstaff breaking forward. Out wide it goes to Murphy. Murphy across the box, and the first to connect with it was Zabarny, who put it behind for the corner. But as I was saying, playing out from the back, Newcastle got the benefit of that last week. They almost pressed Bournemouth into a similar situation a moment or two ago, and Neto almost messed it up. It was McCarthy last week for Southampton. Saying it more and more often, sides wanting to play out from the back, but clearly just not having the quality to do so at times. Corner for Newcastle. 9.5 minutes gone. Still 0-0. Murphy to take. Goes short again. Now Longstaff will try and lift it in. It will take another deflection off Marcus Tavernier. Will be another Newcastle corner. Quite a number of early set pieces for the Toon. This is their 4th corner. Certainly have a lot of height in there. Both their centre backs over 6 foot. Bit of height in midfield as well. The likes of Guimaraes, Longstaff as well. Joe Linton. Well, it's now Gordon who's going to take this corner. It's Murphy that took the last one. Anthony Gordon will take this one. Looks to be whipping it in, I would guess. Right footed delivery. Outswinger. Did come off the head of Dan Burn, but didn't go towards goal. Picked up on the left hand side by Isak. Guimaraes trying to go with the 1-2 to Isak. Isak into the box, goes down. The referee says no foul as Bournemouth have the ball back and clear their lines. Looked a bit nervy, that one. For a moment there. It didn't look convincing, but it's a nice link up between Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak. And speaking of Isak, it's actually not Isak. I think it's Longstaff actually that's down here up the field. David Coots just going to have a check upon Sean Longstaff. Looks to be okay. Doesn't look like he needs treatment. See this again. Yeah, as he tries to go for the ball. It's just a collision with Antoine Semenyo. Yeah, there's nothing much in that. He's okay. And back to his feet is Sean Longstaff. Newcastle certainly dominated possession early on in this one. Actually had less possession against Southampton last week. There's a long ball over the top. Here's Isak! Straight at Neto. And the flag went up anyway against the Newcastle number 14. Oh, it would have been tight though. Nice ball over the top. I think it was Kraft that made the ball. One of the centre-backs just played a lovely ball over the top, and Isak tried to make the run in behind. Might have been just offside, but it was very tight. It's academic anyway, because the ball didn't go in the nets. Alexander Isak, very reliable in front of goal. Certainly last season he was. Scored 21 goals in the Premier League last season, 30 appearances. Very consistent. Had a good spell in the latter stage of the season as well. There was only 3 games out of the last 10 that he failed to have a goal contribution in, which shows his reliability. You just see Newcastle get a free kick there, and Ryan Christie's got a yellow card for that challenge. Christie, the first in the David Coots book today. Free kick lifted over the top. Headed away nicely. Back there by Senesi. Livramento tried to deliver it back in. Ball's a bit of head tennis at the minute as Tavernier goes in for a challenge with Byrne. And Tavernier will get the free kick because he was being pulled there by Dan Byrne. Free kick goes the way of the home side. Now I did mention beforehand about Eddie Howe and his record against his former side. I did mention it. They have played, since taking over at Newcastle, Eddie Howe, they've played Bournemouth 4 times, in the Premier League that is. They've played them once in the League Cup, that they were victorious in, but in the league they've played them 4 times, 3 draws and 1 defeat. They are yet to beat Bournemouth, since taking over. at the club. It was a 1-1 draw at St James's in September 2022, a 1-1 draw in the reverse fixture the same, and then last season Bournemouth ended up picking up 4 points out of a possible 6 against Newcastle, a 2-0 win here and a 2-2 draw at St James's Park in February of this year. But of course, 3 of those 4 goals that Bournemouth scored against Newcastle last season, you can guess who scored them. Dominic Solanke, who's not here anymore, scored both goals in the 2-0 win here last season, and one of the 2 goals against Newcastle at St James's Park. The other goal was scored by a man who is here, and a man who's scored the only goal for Bournemouth this season so far, Antoine Semenyo. So here's Kluivert, trying to keep it up on the right flank, lifts it into the box, and just overhit that one. As Murphy tracking back, Kerkez following him all the way, trying to win the ball back. Milos Kerkez does win the ball at the byline, tries to fizz it across, but no teammates in there. Now Newcastle want a counter, as Joelinton run out of options and was closed down well. Tavernier back out to the right hand side it comes. Bournemouth a bit buoyed by that last chance. Down the right it comes, ball into the box again, no one in there to try and follow it in, and Livramento will just let that one roll out for a Newcastle throw. Again, good threat from Bournemouth there all of a sudden. It's the first real time we've seen them up the field. Vast majority of the early play has been in Bournemouth's half, and the majority of it from Newcastle possession. It's a good header in there by Iraola. Couldn't keep the ball though, as Bruno Guimaraes is taken to the floor by Kluivert, and now they want to take the free kick quickly. Isak on the end of it, trying to find Gordon, but loose pass as Murphy tries to keep it up the field, battling with Tavernier. Real tussle, but Bournemouth come out on top. Zabarnyi back to Neto, he goes long this time. Semenyo looking to flick it on. Newcastle winning that battle again. Byrne, Joelinton to Dan Byrne. It's a good pace about the game so far. Zipping passes. Both sides not afraid to commit forward. Commit bodies forward. There's Kluivert there tracking back as well, and Iraola just standing over the top of Guimaraes, but he's sitting on the ball, and the referee was determined not to give a free kick there because Bruno Guimaraes was just sitting on the ball like a chicken trying to protect his eggs. I mean, that was just naive. Bournemouth do get the throw in out of it. Kluivert and Guimaraes are just having a conversation about that moment, but the referee just let it play out. It's good refereeing. Throw in down the line. Ivan Nielsen holds it up well. Here's Semenyo. Christie to Senesi to Tavernier, trying to feed it through the lines. Christie's made a nice run, but as he entered the box there was bodies surrounding him, and Newcastle recover it well as Murphy, again a bit of a hopeful ball but not enough in it. Too optimistic that time, Jacob Murphy, and Bournemouth have the ball back. Marco Senesi, Zabarnyi to Iraola. Plays it on down the right hand side to Semenyo. He wants to come in field. Antoine Semenyo not challenged. Here's Christie. Looks to feed it out to the left. Heavy touch by Kerkez. Keeps it alive. Tried to flick it. Again, another wasted bit of skill. Newcastle can recover. Just about though, as they're being pressed high here. Kerkez all over the back of Livramento when he wins it. Here's Christie. Feeds it through for Evan Nielsen, who forces the shot on the save of Nick Pope, who clears it away. Would have been a wonderful goal. Of course, Evan Nielsen's debut. Not many score on their debut, but here comes Isak up the other end and fizzed it across that 6-yard box, but just too far ahead of Anthony Gordon, who was following in, just not following in quick enough. And this game's end to end literally 10 seconds or so after Bournemouth have a shot on target. Newcastle right up the other end and almost having a chance of their own, but it comes from good pressure from Bournemouth. They lose the ball, but what they do is they pen Newcastle in. Kerkez keeps himself on Livramento, keeps battling for the ball, wins the challenge, and because Bournemouth have bodies up the field, they have the overload. Christie plays it through, Evan Nielsen, a narrow angle, and he just take the shot and forces the save off Nick Pope. It's good pressure from Bournemouth. That risk and reward of playing high up the field. You can be caught out at one end, but you can certainly have an overload at the other if it does go your way. And on that occasion, it did go their way. Just couldn't find the finish in the end. It's been a more positive last 5 minutes or so from Bournemouth. Newcastle really dominated the early 10-15 minutes, but the last 5 minutes or so has certainly seen a lot more attacking display from Bournemouth. Certainly pressing a lot higher. As Christie left on the floor by Guimaraes, but the referee is now going to stop the game. He was hesitating there a bit as to whether he wanted to stop the game. The referee. See it again. Just Guimaraes just holding off Christie. I mean, it's accidental. There's nothing really much in that at all. He just catches him, but there's nothing malicious about it whatsoever. And referee did check up on Christie. He's fine. And he's back to his feet. And Newcastle will get a drop ball, I would say, here. An uncontested drop ball. Actually, yeah, they will. The referee was going to give it to Bournemouth there. I was wondering. To Linton. Back to Dan Byrne. Nice ball around the corner for Guimaraes in space. Looks to find Livramento, who's broke down the right. Tries to weight it in behind. Finds Longstaff, but battled all the way by Marcus Senesi, who does really well in that challenge and gets the goal kick out of it. Really strong from Marcus Senesi there. Surely gone are the days when centre-backs are dragged out to wide positions and completely left for dead. Certainly seen that kind of growth in centre-back game now, where they do have to come wide, they do have to kind of battle a bit more, not in central areas. It's a nice take there by Kluivert. Araujo to Semenyo. Good movement here from Bournemouth again. Here's Kluivert. Tried to force it across, but body's in the way again from Newcastle as Anthony Gordon tried to come away with the ball, and he is going to get the free kick here. Referee hesitating on a few decisions. Initially it looked like he was wanting them to play on, but Semenyo's challenge is penalised eventually. Yeah, he's nowhere near the ball there, Semenyo, and just kind of takes Anthony Gordon's left foot from underneath him, and it's not necessary, but it is a foul. Good pressure from Bournemouth again, forcing the loose pass, but Newcastle just about recover in time. Although Kerkez, committing himself forward, wins it back. Zabarnyi to Milos Kerkez. Back to Senesi. And Zabarnyi again. Certainly seen a lot more Bournemouth possession. Certainly grown into the game in this first half. Senesi going to dart in behind, but Nick Pope's come out of his box there. He did deal with it well, but for a moment there it looked a bit nervy. But again, they surrender possession, Newcastle. Araujo, Semenyo. Back to Cook. To Araujo, and now Zabarnyi. Crisper passing, sharper movements from Bournemouth. Well, what can Newcastle expect from this season? The Newcastle fans, Champions League qualification 2 seasons ago, last season, they failed to even qualify for Europe. What is their ambition? Is there a kind of a balance between the two of maybe trying to compete for Europe again? Maybe a Europa League or Europa Conference League position. Certainly they would love the European money. That is certainly what a club like Newcastle would need. A big club, but a big history. I think the fans kind of expectant for maybe pushing for Europe at the very least. Gone are the days of mid-table and relegation battling Newcastle being an accepted feat anymore. Linton having a chat with one of the subs there, warming up. I don't know what that's about, but whatever it was about, they've certainly sorted whatever it is. 25 minutes gone here at the Vitality Stadium in our first of a double header here in LFS this afternoon in the Premier League. Thanks for joining us. We're also watching Wolves against Chelsea as well, a 2 o'clock kickoff in the Premier League. At the moment it is still Wolves who trail at Molineux by a 1-0. Chelsea leading. Nicholas Jackson's second-minute goal giving the Blues the early lead there, and so far it has continued in that vein. Wolves have had 1 or 2 half chances, but it's been Chelsea that have been on top, and at the moment the scoreline certainly shows the fact that they are deservedly ahead. And we'll keep an eye on that one, as I mentioned, all the way out throughout the afternoon. Here's Tavernier. Finds Semenyo. Inadvertently, but did. Tavernier. Now Christie. To Kirkes on the left. To Kluivert. Kluivert's very fluid. He's from right wing to centre in the 10, and then has come out to the left wing. Very fluid Bournemouth attacking system at the moment. Senesi tries to feed it across. Cleared away by Newcastle, but won back by Christie. Cook. Down the right-hand side. Semenyo wide on that right flank. Looking to tick men on. Does win the challenge and has this shot that comes off the crossbar. Fabulous from Antoine Semenyo. From 0 to 100 in a matter of milliseconds off that right wing. Just tiptoeing his way past Joe Linton. It looked like he got the better of him, and he thought, why not hit one? Just the edge of the box on that right flank. What we see from a lot of right wingers, chopping in on that left foot, and he does it this time, and what an effort. Curling towards goal. Just a couple of inches too high. Too high for Nick Pope to reach, and it come cascading off the crossbar. Fabulous effort. And inches away from getting his second of the season and giving Bournemouth a lead, and they now get a free kick through Evan Nielsen's foul. We have a goal at Molineux to tell you about. I said Chelsea were on top. I said they were deservedly ahead. Well, no more. Wolves have levelled the game. I mean, you talk about commentators' curse. It is Wolves 1, Chelsea 1. Games back to level terms, and Matheus Cunha is the scorer for Wolverhampton Wanderers. Their first goal of the new season sees them level things at home against Chelsea. It's Wolves 1, Chelsea 1. Of course, VAR pending. I'm guessing that's the score because it's come up on my screen, and that is the case. But of course, everything goes with a VAR warning in this day and age. As Bournemouth take that free kick. Semenyo trying to flick it across the box, but not much on that as Newcastle clear their lines. Flick by Iraola. Gordon just takes it down for Newcastle, but Semenyo there to tiptoe it away. Evan Nielsen finds Semenyo. Now to Kluivert, gives it wide, trying to find Tavernier, but just a bit too far ahead of Marcus Tavernier, and Newcastle escape with the ball. Here's Murphy. Has to go in behind for Isak, but just too much on that one. And a free goes back to the Bournemouth goalkeeper, Neto. Again, that was really good fluidity from Bournemouth, again winning the ball high up, and it's that front four that really combining really, really well. This time it was Evan Nielsen and Semenyo. Semenyo won the ball back. Evan Nielsen plays the 1-2, and Kluivert just tries to deliver it out to the left to Tavernier, but just a bit ahead of him. Much more impressive from Bournemouth up front in these last 10 minutes or so. They've been the better side in the last 10-15 minutes now. And Kirkes across there. And a hold off Jacob Murphy, and he's in real pain here. Jumping about in a real amount of pain here. And it's his finger, I believe. It's somewhere on his hand. He's in massive amounts of pain. To see this again. Slides across for the ball. Oh, his left hand just goes under the boot of Jacob Murphy there. And it's just accidental, but it's certainly a painful one. And he is back to his feet, Milos Kirkes. So more of an impact, kind of painful one than anything everlasting. And a free kick, or sorry, not a free kick, a throw in for Newcastle is going to come down this right hand side. And don't forget, the second part of our double header this afternoon in the Premier League sees Liverpool take on Brentford in their first game at Anfield this season. A first Anfield League game for Arne Slot as the new Liverpool manager. And that kicks off at 4:30 this afternoon. We'll give you team news here in about an hour's time at 3:30 here on LFS. Pope forced long. Brought down by Zabarnyi. Flicked on by Semenyo. Round the corner by Kluivert. Lovely football. Here's Semenyo down the right flank again. Back to Cook. Cook to lift it into the box. Tavernier was the target. Livramento cleared as Christie wins the free kick for a challenge by Sean Longstaff. Again, really good fast moving of the ball from Bournemouth. Newcastle late, kind of chasing shadows in a sense so far. Now goes all the conference as to who figures out who's going to take this free kick then. I think it's Kluivert, Cook and Semenyo over it here for Bournemouth. It's Tavernier actually, not Kluivert. I got the 6 and the 9 upside down. I couldn't see his number, that was guessing from that distance. And there's Cook in deep conversation with Marcus Tavernier as to what they're going to go for here. Looks like they could go direct. It's about, I would say, if I had to guess, about 23 yards. Right hand side. Kind of a bit to the right, not fully kind of off to the right, just a bit to the right and about 23 yards out. So it's certainly scoreable. I'm sure Nick Pope knows that. He's watching on nervously, setting up his back line, his wall. Cook and Tavernier over it for Bournemouth. Tavernier readies, takes the shot, hits the wall, takes the deflection. And Nick Pope takes no risks and just palms it out for the corner. It's not the best of free kicks, but ultimately Bournemouth do get a corner out of it. It was a bit of a nervy one for both teams in that sense. The ball comes off Joe Linton, I think, in the wall, and it just takes a wicked deflection up into the air and it just bounces around, and with the wind Nick Pope takes no risks and palms it out for the corner. Cook to take it short. Kirkes back to Cook, who's to hook it to the back post, and Nick Pope was there to punch it away. Tavernier. Christie to Senesi, who delivers. Bit low as the ball comes into the box. Flicked on by Evan Nielsen, but hooked away that time by the Newcastle defence. Certainly growing in more dominance. The Cherries. And the crowd responding to that. Tavernier. Flicked on for Semenyo. Into the box. Semenyo! Off balance. And you could see that he was off balance for the effort. Ultimately going well wide. The crowd now applauding along with how well their side have actually performed in the last 20 minutes or so. In the last 15 minutes, Newcastle haven't had a shot in the game. Bournemouth 3 shots, and Bournemouth having more possession than Newcastle. So that kind of the emphasis on the fact that Bournemouth have just grown into this game, and actually Newcastle have kind of hidden away the last 15 minutes. They've been nowhere to be seen. Zabarnyi goes long. Evan Nielsen heads it on to Tavernier, who holds it up well. A tight space round the corner for Kirkes. Down the line it goes to Kluivert. Down the left flank comes Justin Kluivert. Lifts it into the box, but just too close to Nick Pope, who gathers comfortably. Tries to send Anthony Gordon on a chase, but well covered over by Iraola. Cook winning his 50-50 with Joelinton, but the pass is straight to Dan Burn, who wins it back for Newcastle. Livramento. Back to Kraft. Pope. To Dan Burn. To Sean Longstaff now. Joelinton coming off the left. Tracked all the way by Iraola, but does win the challenge and plays it off to Longstaff, who's ultimately taken out by Kluivert. Free kick given for Newcastle. They do have kind of like a teal kind of band to their kit today, Newcastle. It's white with like teal through it. I can't say it's the best kit I've ever seen, but certainly not the most atrocious. There's one thing I was bemused about yesterday, Aston Villa and Arsenal. Why Arsenal couldn't play in red against Aston Villa and they played in black is beyond me. Baffling. Makes no sense. Anyway. Kierkegaard. Less than 10 minutes to go with the first half. Still 0-0 here at the Vitality. Bournemouth have certainly offered a lot more in front of goal in this first half than Newcastle. Kierkegaard to Senesi. Senesi trying to measure one into the space for Ryan Christie, but Emil Kraft had that one covered. Although it was pass out. Straight back to Marcus Senesi from Kraft. Now across to Cook. Kierkegaard is trying to add those bodies upfield, but Murphy there to close it out. And that's nice work from Guimaraes. Joelinton now. Newcastle really struggling. Semenyo there on the toes of Joelinton, steals it away from him. Semenyo in the box. Goes across and a tap in for Marcus Tavernier. And Bournemouth have been pushing for the lead. Have broken the deadlock. Newcastle sleeping again in midfield. And it's Joelinton, last week's hero, is this week's villain. Giving the ball away in midfield. And Semenyo, who's been bright all day, nicking it away from every Newcastle player that had it. And he plays it through. Gets down the right flank. Squares it across. And far too easily, Marcus Tavernier waiting to tap it in. It's FIFA football. You see it again. Joelinton just gives it away. It's weak. There might be an offside here, actually. The more I think about it. It looked too easy, but VAR might need to get the lines out here. It's a lovely cross by Antoine Semenyo. Fabulous. Through to Newcastle players. Kraft doesn't reach for it. And Tavernier there to tap it in. VAR might have their say, we don't know. Waiting on the game restarting to confirm the goal. Marcus Tavernier is the man to finish it off, and the goal is confirmed. There's no offside, so Bournemouth's goal stands. And Marcus Tavernier, who joined from Middlesbrough 2 summers ago, for over £10 million. Last season, he had a decent return in the Premier League. Not the best in terms of goal scoring. 7 goal involvements in his 30 games, but we'll want to improve on that. And he's got his first of the new season in his second appearance, and gives Bournemouth a deserved lead, really, against Newcastle. They've been pushing for it, as I said, for the last 20 minutes. They've been the better side and deservedly now have that lead. And again, just lack of physicality in midfield from Newcastle. They're just giving the ball away, and they've given it away again. Here's Kluivert. Bournemouth just seem to have that more control, more physicality in midfield, just winning those challenges. And Joelinton, just when he got the ball, he was just dilly-dallying with the ball, just taking it way too many touches. Just had no options and decided not to pass it off. Gives the ball away, and Newcastle ultimately concede as A challenge there between Evan Nielsen and Bruno Guimaraes has the game stopped at the moment. Evan Nielsen's gone down. Guimaraes is back to his feet. There's no worry for him. And I think Evan Nielsen should be okay. Just seeing that yeah, he's well onside there. From the sideline angle, it looked offside, but when you see it straight on, it's clearly onside. Marcus Tavernier. It was Lloyd Kelly, the former Bournemouth player, that played him onside. And of course, Joe Linton knows it was his mistake that led to that goal, and a pretty avoidable goal, to be honest. But again, extra touches in midfield, just too patient, wasting too much time on the ball, and they give it away. Although Jacob Murphy's done well here to escape with it, although not that pass though. Did well holding up to the ball. Ultimately tried to pass it off to a teammate, telegraphed it out for a Bournemouth throw. And Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall in deep conversation on the sidelines, figuring out what's went wrong for Newcastle in this first half. Kieran Trippier, I think he's his head in his hands there. It's almost like he's at a funeral. What's going on there? I think he needs to calm himself down. It's only a goal. Kind of Hollywood performance from Kieran Trippier on the sidelines there. Just loose in their passing at times, Newcastle. Get away with it that time. Lloyd Kelly goes back to Nick Pope, but in that midfield they just don't seem to have that cohesion. Really, really struggling at the minute, Newcastle. I think it's Bournemouth committing bodies upfield, and that suffocation of the likes of Clivert, who has no problem of tracking back and closing bodies down in midfield, and Tavernier and Christie and Cook in there. They've kind of got four players in the middle, really closing people down, and again they close them down. This time it's a foul by Lewis Cook, but on Anthony Gordon. But time and time again, Newcastle are getting caught on the ball in midfield, and Bournemouth are just having an easy day of it at the minute. Their game plan's working to an absolute T. This would make it 5 if they end up remaining unbeaten here, Bournemouth, in this game. That would make it 5 games unbeaten in the Premier League against Newcastle. Something they'd never achieved previously. Their longest run, they're on their longest unbeaten run against Newcastle in the league. Their second longest was a 3-game unbeaten run when they won twice away at Newcastle and drew here between 2016 and 2018. Newcastle haven't won against Bournemouth by more than 1 goal since a 4-1 victory here back in July 2020. That's the only time that Newcastle have beaten Bournemouth by more than 1 goal in the Premier League. Maybe you think that's not important at this moment in time. Maybe it isn't, but it could be later in the game. Long ball forward from Neto. Brought down in midfield by Kerkez. Cook. Back it comes to Zabarnyi. And now back to Neto again. Bournemouth just happy to just play keep ball at the moment. Let's try and go long that time. Livramento there to intercept. Guimaraes. Longstaff got a bit lucky there as he overstepped the ball. Guimaraes now. Joe Linton steps in field, plays it off. Just about got there was Guimaraes, but again a loose pass from Joe Linton forces his teammate to stretch, and Newcastle surrender possession. Lack of cohesion between that midfield 3 from Newcastle. They're really struggling in there at this minute in time. Bournemouth just have their number, completely overrunning them in that midfield. It's certainly something that Newcastle need to have a look at half time. Just a minute of the 45 to go. We'll see how long will be added on at the end of the first half. Of course, Newcastle will know they were lucky last week to get 3 points, albeit 3 points is 3 points, but did have a man sent off. We're down to 10 against newly promoted Southampton, and I think if they were against any other team other than Southampton, I think they would have lost that game, Newcastle, last week. The way they play, they were really poor in front of goal, offered really nothing, even with 11v11, and Southampton with a better side just had that lack of clinical edge. Southampton, we saw that yesterday against Forest, really nothing up front for them at the moment in time, and that let them down last week, Southampton. We're seeing the similar traits here for Newcastle this week, just slow in possession, not really what we've seen from Newcastle over previous years, where they control and dominate games and really overrun sides. We see that they're lacking that physicality at the minute. Bournemouth is out battling in those 50-50s. As there will be 3 added minutes at the end of the first half. Here at the Vitality, we have another goal to tell you about at Molineux. Chelsea took the lead, Wolves levelled, and you can guess that Chelsea have retaken the lead. And it is Cole Palmer that has given Chelsea the lead once more for his first goal of the new season. And Wolves find themselves behind again, having to track back and crawl back into the game. It's Wolves 1, Chelsea 2, and they'll be coming up to half-time very shortly as well. At Molineux. Iraola to Cook, back to Zabarnyi, pressed a bit more by Gordon. Zabarnyi goes back to Neto. As Neto chips it forward. Livramento wins the challenge. Kluivert wanted a free kick, but the referee said no. Livramento. Now Guimaraes. Around the corner for Isak, who's dropped a bit deeper. Couldn't find a way forward. Back to Guimaraes. Now finds Longstaff in a bit of space. Murphy down the right hand side. Gonna flick it round the corner for Sean Longstaff, but Bournemouth saw that one coming and eased that one, ushered it out for a goal kick. Well, if we look at XG, and look, XG is kind of take it with a pinch of salt in a sense, but from the chances that Newcastle have created in this first half, their XG is 0.14, so a 14% chance of having one goal in this first half, which is really poor. Really quite nowhere near the level for Newcastle, but they'll know that, and they'll want to fix that at half-time and try and resolve some of the issues that they've had in this first half in that 15-minute interval. 30 seconds of the first half to go, and that's another dreadful pass by Joelinton. Certainly say that Joelinton will be happy to see the back of this first half. Certainly been a first half to forget for, as I said, last week's hero is this week's villain. As I said, well, I wouldn't call him a villain, but you get what I mean. Certainly hasn't had his best 45 minutes of football. And there is the first half. And it's not Joelinton that's not had their best 45 minutes of football. It's Newcastle as well. Have been again poor in this first half. They started better than Bournemouth, but Bournemouth grew into the game. And once they got a grip of it, the Cherries were not letting go. And Marcus Tavernier has scored the goal that sees Bournemouth lead at the break. Half-time at the Vitality. It's Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 0. Analysis on the way next. Welcome back to Premier League Live. The second half between Bournemouth and Newcastle on the way in about 13 minutes time. It is Bournemouth who lead by a goal to nil at the break in this one, on our first doubleheader of the new Premier League season. In match week 2, we've already seen 7 results, as I've mentioned. We'll go through those in a few moments' time. We're also awaiting the half-time whistle at Molineux, where it is Wolves 1, Chelsea 2 in that first half. We'll bring that to you very, very shortly. And also our second game of our doubleheader today is Liverpool taking on Brentford. Arne Slot's first league game at Anfield as the Liverpool manager in the Premier League. And Brentford are the visitors to that one. Brentford, who beat Crystal Palace in their opening game last weekend. And they would love to make it 2 from 2. Liverpool have gone a long way since winning their first 2 games under a new manager to start the season. Arne Slot actually became the first Liverpool manager since Graham Souness back in 1991, to be the first Liverpool manager to win his first game in charge of the club. He was the last to do that before Arne Slot. Anyway, I'm stalling a bit because we have another goal at Molineux to tell you about, and again, what a first half it has been in that one between Wolves and Chelsea. Over the years, Wolves fans have come to know that there's going to be little amount of goals. There's not going to be a huge amount of goals at Molineux. It's never seen kind of classics in the past. It might be seeing a classic today because Wolves are back level in the 50th minute of the first half. The 51st minute of the first half, 45 plus 6. Almost the last minute of the first half, Jørgen Strand Larsen has levelled things for Wolves again. A ding-dong first half, as they say, in that game. The 24-year-old Norwegian is on loan at Wolves from Celta Vigo. They paid £2.5 million for him for that loan deal that lasts until the end of the season. He made his debut against Arsenal last week, and he has now scored his first goal for the club. It is Wolves 2, Chelsea 2. What a first half we have seen that has been seen at Molineux. So it is 2-2 there. It is 1-0 to Bournemouth at half-time. I was hoping they didn't steal all the goals, but it seems like they're stealing quite a lot of goals in that one at Molineux. But here at the Vitality Stadium, a first half to forget for Newcastle, really. A first half that they really started well, but as the half went on, Bournemouth grew into the game and Newcastle just disappeared. I mean, I don't think they've had a shot since the 20th minute or something, or 15th minute of the game. Once Bournemouth took control, Newcastle were nowhere to be seen in the game. They just couldn't get forward. I mean, Alexander Isak could have had the second half of that first half off, really, because we didn't see very much of him in the latter stages of that first half. But they did, as I said. Newcastle started the better side. They had 1 or 2 half chances early on where they could have kind of threatened the Bournemouth back line, but again, I said half chances. They weren't really good goal-scoring opportunities in that sense. They were little moments where they could have said, we can build upon that as a good foundation for the game. But once Bournemouth started to grow into the game and get a bit more control in the game, Newcastle really struggled. And again, multiple times in that first half when Bournemouth were winning, they were winning the ball back high up, and the first time I remember it really happening was Milos Kerkez. Bournemouth lost the ball, they came forward, lost the ball, but they kept their bodies up the field. Kerkez committed in a challenge with Livramento, the bodies were there, the overload was there, and they had a decent opportunity. Again, but multiple chances coming from Antoine Semenyo, winning balls back high up. Newcastle just dilly-dallying on the ball in midfield, far too lazy, far too laboured, far too relaxed in midfield, giving the ball away. And Antoine Semenyo, about 4 or 5 times in that first half, pounced upon a Newcastle player, won the ball back, took it right from his feet, and broke down that right-hand side. He cut off the inside, off the right flank to hit the crossbar himself, and then sets up the ultimate goal for Bournemouth in that half. Won it off Joe Linton. I mean, Joe Linton picks up the ball and takes about 5 or 6 touches, does not want to pass it to anyone, has no forward passes, doesn't want to pass it back, dilly-dallies on the ball. Antoine Semenyo there presses him, closes him down, wins the ball, plays it out works it out to the right-hand side, and just squares it across the 18-yard box for Marcus Tavernier to tap in. I mean, it's pretty simple. basic football. And talked last week about, or we talked earlier in the half about what happened for Newcastle last week. They were actually kind of the team pouncing upon Southampton, trying to play it from the back and trying to kind of play through the opposition in that sense, not kind of recognising the danger of the press. And this week it's kind of Newcastle getting a taste of their own medicine. They're trying to play out themselves, trying to play through the press, and ultimately getting caught out on the ball far too slow, trying to play through Bournemouth, and they get caught out and end up paying the price. But as I said, it's not the only chance that Bournemouth had in that first half, probably not their best chance that they had. As I said, Antoine Semenyo hit the crossbar, wonderful effort, chopped in off the right flank onto his left foot, and he just thought, why not hit it? And he did hit it, and hit it beautifully. It just didn't dip in time, and it come crashing off the crossbar. I said 0 to 100 in a matter of milliseconds from Antoine Semenyo, and that's the threat he can have. I think it's something Newcastle should have realised. He scored their Bournemouth's equaliser against Forest last week, and was kind of that fox in the box, as they say. He's always there to pick up loose ends, and always there to kind of press the opposition into making mistakes, and kind of he's always kind of got the pressure on the opposition in that sense. And you'd think Newcastle would have noticed that from last week and kind of wanted to close him off and isolate him a bit, but they've done absolutely none of that in that first half, and they've been on the full wrath, on the end of the wrath of Antoine Semenyo in that first half. But as a whole, Newcastle fell away. The whole team just weren't at any sort of level in that first half as it went on. Bournemouth grew in confidence. They were winning second balls, winning 50-50 duels. I mean, they were winning everything, Bournemouth, and they deservedly lead at half-time. And Newcastle can only blame themselves, really, for the fact that they do trail at half-time, and they do kind of find themselves pretty much not out of the game, but in the balance of the game. They've been not in it, certainly from the around 15 minutes into it. So the second half, but Newcastle certainly need to up their level, and they need to get a grip with that midfield, because the midfield has been nowhere near the level either. Joe Linton giving balls away left, right and centre. Guimaraes not having passes to find anybody. Sean Longstaff, I mean, running around like a headless chicken. I don't know what his position is in that first half, but something they need to improve. And surely Eddie Howe and Jason Tilder were talking in deep conversation on the sidelines towards the end of that first half, and they'll be hoping to find a solution for this second half, which is about 5 minutes away. Let's just round up that first half then for you from Molineux, our other game that we're keeping an eye on in the Premier League this afternoon, between Wolves and Chelsea. Chelsea took the lead after just 2 minutes. Nicholas Jackson opened the scoring. Matheus Cunha then levelled things for Wolves in the 27th minute. Quite ironically, Matheus Cunha levelling things there in the 27th minute, set up by Ryan Nouri. Cole Palmer then retook the lead for Chelsea on the verge of the 45th minute. Nicholas Jackson getting the assist on this one, before Totti Gomez set up for Jorgen Strand Larsen for his first ever Wolves goal in only his second appearance in the 51st minute of that first half, the 6th minute of additional time in that first half saw Wolves back level. So that's the way they stand in that one. A real classic of end-to-end ping-pong match. Molineux at his Wolves 2, Chelsea 2 at the break, and hopefully another 45 minutes of the same to come. Let's just round up yesterday's results then for you once again. Manchester United beaten. Haven't won their first two opening games of a season in quite a long time, and that was certain. Could have been the case. They could have had winning chances to win the game, Manchester United. Couple of offsides let them down. Brighton took the lead in that one by former Manchester United player Danny Welbeck. He scored his 100th club career goal to give Brighton the lead. Ahmad then equalised for Manchester United before Brighton then won it in the 95th minute. João Pedro with the winning goal for Brighton. West Ham were 2-0 winners away at Selhurst Park. Thomas Soucek and Jared Bowen the goal scorers against Oliver Glasner's Crystal Palace, who ended last season unbeaten in the last 7, but opened the new season with back-to-back defeats in London derbies. Not a good start to the new campaign for Crystal Palace. Fulham, on the other hand, on the other side of London, well, they have started decently well, a defeat and a win. They were narrow losers last week at Manchester United. They're narrow winners this week against newly promoted Leicester at Craven Cottage, their first home game of the season. Their record signing, Emile Smith-Rowe, opened the scoring. Vout Fast levelled from a header from a corner before Alex Iwobi scored the winner to give Fulham all 3 points. Manchester City didn't get a clean sheet against Ipswich. They got 3 points quite convincingly, but Ipswich's new man, Sammy Schmodix, the Republic of Ireland international, gave Ipswich the lead after just 7 minutes. Savino then won a penalty for Manchester City 3 minutes later, Erling Haaland converting that one. Kevin De Bruyne then 2 minutes after that gave Manchester City the first lead of the day with his goal before Erling Haaland had his second to give Man City their third in the 16th minute. 3 goals in a matter of 4 minutes for Manchester City. Saw them from 1-0 down to 3-1 up. And then the only goal of the second half coming again from Erling Haaland to complete his hat-trick. His 23rd career hat-trick, Erling Haaland, in the 88th minute to seal the deal for Manchester City. 4-1 winners. Forest got their first 3 points of the season, an unbeaten start to the campaign. Morgan Gibbs-White the only scorer at St Mary's as Southampton fall to back-to-back 1-0 defeats against Newcastle and against Nottingham Forest to start their new season as a Premier League club once again. And a home defeat for them. They only saw 2 home wins in their last Premier League campaign, and they're not going to be getting that. Going to start with maybe a similar technique, but it doesn't look good for Southampton early doors. They might struggle this campaign. Tottenham are not struggling in their new campaign. 4-0 winners at home to Everton, who are certainly off to their worst start ever at the top flight. 4-0 defeat yesterday for them. Yves Bissouma, Christian Romero and 2 Heung-min Son goals secured the 4-0 victory for Tottenham. Everton conceded 7, scored none in their first 2 games. As I said, their worst start to a campaign in the top flight ever in the club's history. Sean Dyche trying to remain positive. I don't think there's many positives to take from either of those 2 games. And Arsenal, after they were done the double on last season by Aston Villa, well, Arsenal have reconciled that and got a 2-0 victory away at Villa Park last night as Leandro Trossard and Thomas Partey converted to give Arsenal a 2-0 win. Right, second half, ready to go here at the Vitality. Both sides waiting for the restarts. I didn't get to tell you that the 4:30 kickoff, Liverpool against Brentford, is coming up at 4:30. Team news in about 30 minutes' time. For that one, we'll bring that to you as soon as we have it. Big improvements needed for Eddie Howe's Newcastle in the second half. Can they do it? Let's see. They're going to get us going in a matter of seconds. No substitutions at the break from either team. So as you were, which kind of bemuses me, but we'll see if that is the right option for Eddie Howe or whether he could have gone to the bench. Taking their time here. There we are. Back underway then at the Vitality, and a bit of work for Newcastle to do. More than a bit of work, quite a lot of work for them to do to improve in this second half. Bournemouth certainly the better side in the first half, and the scoreline deservedly shows that. That 1-goal advantage for the Cherries. Try and knock one in behind early doors there. Did the home side, but Nick Pope was quick to that one and knocked it out for a throw. Well, in terms of away defeats in the last 2 Premier League seasons, they had 3 2 seasons ago. Last season, 11 away defeats, Newcastle. They lost over half of their away games last campaign, which is certainly something I'm sure Eddie Howe and Jason Tindall and the whole Newcastle staff and team will want to improve this season. They don't want to fall to defeat at the first time of asking away from home this season. If they don't improve in that first half, that will surely be the outcome. There's another loose pass, but Anthony Gordon does enough to keep that one in play. You need a bit of energy to start this second half, Newcastle. Gordon. Joe Linton. Out wide it comes to Lloyd Kelly. Back to Joe Linton. Right, Gordon. Across to Longstaff. To Livramento. Nice ball by Murphy through the lines. Here's Longstaff breaking into the box. Shoved down, but Senesi came across and defended it well, according to the referee, who's given just a goal kick. See this again. It was good work by Newcastle initially. It's caught the Bournemouth midfield a bit too high that time. They got in behind the Bournemouth midfield and did very well to find the gap, but Marcus Senesi was quick to see that one out from Sean Longstaff. But that could be another idea that Newcastle could probably pose a threat in that sense, as Neto gives it away from the long kick. Here's Isak winning Newcastle a corner off Marcus Senesi, who's been busy since the start of the second half. Of course, Bournemouth will not be naive. I know Newcastle will want to come out of the traps quick, and I'm sure Bournemouth will be happy to just defend for a couple of minutes to allow Newcastle to blow off a bit of steam from that frustrating first half. Corner for the Toon. Gordon to take, right-footed, goes short to Bruno Guimaraes. To the edge of the box now. Kraft back to Gordon. He will lift it into the box, and Dan Burn got the header, but right across goal. And no one there to follow it in for Newcastle, as Guimaraes has to rescue something on their right flank, and he'll get a free kick from a challenge from Evan Nielsen, the Bournemouth debutant. It's a good cross. Maybe Byrne might have been... No, Byrne was onside. It was Kelly that was offside. Byrne was well onside. Arrived late. Another free kick taken short. Gordon looked to flick it across again and cleared away that time by Milos Kerkez in there. But positive from Newcastle to start the half. Certainly a positive start to the half is exactly what they need. Sure, that's what Eddie Howe is expecting from his side, to show a lot more in this second half than what they did in the first. Well below par. As Livramento takes another heavy touch. Again, a couple of too many touches. Similar diagnosis as Bournemouth again points upon that, but Newcastle do well to try and battle back. Here's Longstaff. Again, Guimaraes oversteps as Bournemouth come away with the ball once more. Here's Lewis Cook. Cook darts it down the left-hand side. Kluivert to chase. Kluivert looking to go across the box, and Semenyo has his effort knocked wide by Dan Burn, who got across in time. Again, really good from Bournemouth. Lewis Cook just measuring one down that left-hand flank. Well worked by Kluivert to just take the touch and square it across for the oncoming Antoine Semenyo, who's arriving late into the box, and Dan Burn just about got there in time. Semenyo a threat again, and Bournemouth have a corner, left-hand side. Right-footed delivery. Bouncing in and bouncing all the way through. Senesi was battling on that one and won it fairly according to the referee. Here's Tavernier. Now Kluivert trying to go for the little jink around the defender, but heavy touch, saw it go out for a goal kick. Positive start to the half for Newcastle, but again, another glimpse of the threat of Bournemouth in quick transition. Pope to take the goal kick. Hooks it long. Joe Linton trying to take it down, holding off his marker well, and Anthony Gordon goes to ground under a challenge from Lewis Cook and wins Newcastle the free kick. Guimaraes takes it short. 1-2 with Dan Burn. Guimaraes again. Just getting away with it. Again, not convincing from Newcastle. As Burn sends Kluivert packing, but again, Guimaraes closed down well by Cook. Christie plays a nice ball in behind. Evan Nielsen on the chase. Takes it down well. Evan Nielsen takes the shot. That's easily charged down by Nick Pope, but again, really threatening from Bournemouth. And similar ideas from that first half. Newcastle, just no urgency in the midfield whatsoever. It's far too easy from Bournemouth, from a Newcastle point of view, to get past them. Need to figure out a way of playing around Bournemouth rather than try and go through them and run into trouble every time. Bournemouth committing a lot of bodies forward as Kerkez there was committed in his challenge. Give away the free kick. Excuse me. Kelly. Back to Pope, and again wasteful at the back there, Newcastle. Panicking under pressure. Bournemouth win the throw. Tavernier. Run into a lot of bodies there. And no room for Murphy to break out. And Evan Nielsen puts it out for a Newcastle throw. Another thing that I really have been impressed with from Bournemouth is the fact that the fluidity of that front four. The three in behind Evan Nielsen, but Evan Nielsen as well, not afraid to come wide. Offer a lot of bodies as they've won it back again, and Semenyo had the shot blocked by his own teammate as he tried to keep it in there. From the deflection, it goes behind for a goal kick. And again, really good pressure from Bournemouth, I have to say. Very impressive. And they were very impressive under Andoni Iraola, who, at a point last season, when he did come into the side, Andoni Iraola, and became the manager permanently, it kind of shocked everyone at how good Bournemouth had become. They became a side that were maybe tickling with relegation to a side that could have made a late push for Europe. I mean, ultimately that was a bit too optimistic in the end for Bournemouth. But in the end, they finished in 12th, 48 points. They were just a point off finishing in the top half, which was would be a very good season for Bournemouth. They did have a good season last campaign, 13 wins, 9 draws, 16 defeats, which is something they'll want to bring down. And I think the idea, I would say, this season for Andoni Iraola would be turning a few more of those defeats into draws, at the very least, and trying to kind of envisage that idea of, if you can't win a game, make sure you don't lose it. And that's the key identity of a mid-table side. If they want to be mid-table Bournemouth, they want to kind of push towards that top half, I think more draws are needed. You can't be as kind of on-off, in a sense. You either win a game or lose a game. You have to draw more games. And they did draw 9 games, but losing too many. As Newcastle trying to whip that one across there. Murphy just more of a hopeful ball. Far too much on it for anyone in there, and goes behind for a goal kick to Bournemouth. Second half underway at Molineux, by the way. It's Wolves 2, Chelsea 2. See if anything changes in that one. There's a game in the Championship underway as well. The derby of the Welsh sides. Swansea taking on Cardiff in the Championship, and Liam Cullen has given Swansea the lead in that one. That kicked off at 3 o'clock. Liam Cullen has scored the goal that gives Swansea the lead. Speaking of giving leads, Chelsea are ahead once again. No sooner was the second half underway than Chelsea find themselves back in front. The third time this afternoon that Chelsea have taken the lead. Could Wolves for a third time level it? We will see. It's Wolves 2, Chelsea 3. Noni Madwicki with the goal this time. And it is Wolves 2, Chelsea 3. A real classic. A thriller in that one at Molineux. Everything turning to goals this afternoon. For two sides that didn't score last week, they currently must have bottled up all their goal scoring ability, and it's come flooding out in this game this week. Fabulous battle in that one, and the points could go any which way. Bournemouth have a corner, right hand side. Lloyd Kelly putting that one out for a corner to his former side. Certainly have a lot of height in there as well, Bournemouth. But not the height and the dominance of Dominic Solanke anymore in there, which who scored their second goal against Newcastle here last season. Scored both goals. As the corner whipped into the back post, and too high for anyone in there. Clivert was the closest, but was nowhere near getting on the end of it. Let's see it again. Really good threatening delivery. Whipped right across the 6-yard box and was dipping to Clivert at the back post. And I did say it was nowhere near him. I correct that. It was quite close to him. Just over his head. Went straight through for a goal kick, but interesting indeed. Substitution for Newcastle, and Tino Livramento has come off, and Jacob Murphy following suit. And both coming on are Kieran Trippier and Harvey Barnes. So Barnes and Trippier on, replacing Livramento and Murphy. Longstaff. Well, since the start of last season, Newcastle have had the most goals from substitutes, the joint most, along with Brighton. 14 goals scored by substitutes. Remember, Harvey Barnes had an incredible substitute appearance last season in one of Newcastle's games. I'm trying to remember which one it was, but he came on and scored 2 goals. Took them from losing to winning ultimately last season. If I can get that game for you, I will. West Ham came on to the pitch, Harvey Barnes, the 67th minute, and in the last 10 minutes of the game scored 2 goals against West Ham to take them from 3-2 down to winning 4-3 Newcastle. So Harvey Barnes has a history of scoring goals late in games to secure victory from Newcastle, and Semenyo had a decent opportunity himself there. We do have team news from Anfield, I believe, to tell you. Because the team news now, I forgot, comes out an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff, not an hour. So I think there's team news from Anfield. We'll bring that to you very momentarily once we have the confirmation of it. Here's Harvey Barnes linking up with Isak. Now Guimaraes out to the right hand side of Trippier, who will lift it into the box, targeting Barnes, but Senesi cleared that one away. Here's Semenyo. Does well under the pressure from Lloyd Kelly, and cleared away by Ilya Zabarny. Trying to find the run of Evan Nielsen in behind, but Dan Burn had that one covered all day long. Joe Linton. Guimaraes. Maybe a turning point for Newcastle in this one. Certainly need to see a turning point. Bournemouth pretty comfortable at the moment in the way that they're playing, as the ball into the box is easily caught by Neto in the end. Lloyd Kelly playing it forward to Joe Linton. Guimaraes. Guimaraes finds a nice ball to Isak, but there to tip it away from him was Zabarny, picked back up by Gordon. He's gone out to the right now. Trippier to Guimaraes. She will lift one. Isak to try and head it across, but Bournemouth again, lots of bodies in there to scramble it away. Here's Iraola. Trying to look for a teammate, and that ball is overhit and out of play. We do have team news from Anfield then to tell you about. Liverpool's team is as follows: Alisson in goal, Alexander-Arnold, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson in defence, McAllister and Gravenberch in a defensive 2 in midfield, Dominic Szoboszlai in the 10, Diaz off the left, Salah off the right and Diogo Jota through the middle. The only change from their opening game is at centre-back, where Ibrahima Konate comes in for Jarell Quansah, who is on the bench. For Brentford, Mark Flecken starts in goal. Mads Rushlev, Nathan Collins, Ethan Pinnock and Christopher Ayer are the back four. Vitaly Janelt, Christian Norgard and Matthias Jensen in midfield. Brian Mbomo, Keane Lewis Potter and Johan Visa lead the line. For Brentford, kickoff at Anfield is 4:30, around about an hour and 10 minutes away. And that one will have live audio commentary here on LFS for that one, coming up in just over an hour's time. Tavernier wins a corner for Bournemouth, left hand side. See whether Bournemouth will make any changes anytime soon. Doesn't look like they need them, or Andoni Iraola wants them. Right footed delivery to the back post, and Pope was in there again to palm it away. And that's good covering out there by Marcus Tavernier. Spotted the Newcastle player wanting to go on the counter attack and just ushered that ball out of play for a throw. Really good for Marcus Tavernier. Lovely switch ball by Senesi. Finds Antoine Semenyo off the right. Driving in field is Semenyo. Semenyo across, and what a chance for Evan Nielsen at the back post. That threatening cross again. It's almost identical to Bournemouth's goal. Really good ball across the box from Semenyo. Again, not closed down. Allowed to drive in field, and it's Evan Nielsen this time. It's in the 6-yard box. And he just stretches for it, but the pace of the ball evades him. And that would have been a wonderful goal. As Bournemouth are going to make changes. Just the one for the moment. Ryan Christie is going to make way for Alex Scott in midfield. So a straight swap in the Bournemouth midfield. Oh, Newcastle playing it around the back there again. And having to go long, and the poor touch there from Harvey Barnes sees it out for a Bournemouth throw. Certainly not been convincing, Newcastle, when they've played it out from the back this afternoon. Time and time again, Bournemouth's press has closed them down and just stopped them in their tracks, showing any sort of positivity. Going from back to front. It's Joe Linton, picks up the loose ball from Bournemouth. Out to Barnes on the left. Got space and time. Plays it off to Guimaraes. Looking for options. And just a bit quicker passively, but again, Joe Linton facing his own goal. He gets the free kick this time, but he's been dreadful all day. I don't want to single out a player and say they've been dreadful, but he has been dreadful. You just have to be truthful. He's been dreadful. And Newcastle do get the free kick out of it. We have another goal to tell you about at Molineux. Certainly haven't been short of goals. We'll get there in a moment because Newcastle have a ball in behind. Here's Isak. And he just runs out of room. Probably sums up Newcastle's day this afternoon. Isak in behind and they just run out of room. As I was saying, another goal at Molineux. Wolves have been pegged back 3 times. They've went behind. They've responded twice to level the game. Have they done it a 3rd time? No, they haven't. Chelsea have extended their lead for the first time this afternoon. They lead by more than 1 goal, and it's the same man who gave them their 3rd who's got their 4th. Noni Madueke, and set up by the same man who set him up for the 3rd, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer with the assist, Noni Madueke with the goal, and Chelsea with a 2-goal lead. It is Wolves 2, Chelsea 4 at Molineux. A real goal fest in the Midlands. Semenyo, Kluivert to Cook. Is there going to be another goal in this one? Less than 25 minutes to go. Bournemouth still lead by 1-0. Marcus Tavernier with his goal just before half-time, giving the Cherries the lead. Newcastle have shown maybe a bit more in the second half as Isak has a promising chance here. He's breaking forward, plays it to Harvey Barnes, and Harvey Barnes just curling wide. Decent effort, decent angle. Just waiting on it, rifling into the bottom right corner, but just goes the wrong side of the post. Isak just makes the run off the defence. Has a bit of space to break into in the middle, and he just feeds it out to the left-hand side for Harvey Barnes, and Barnes opens up his left foot for a shot, and it just curls wide at the last second and goes behind for a goal kick. But it's much better in terms of attacking threat from Newcastle. But again, still lacking in that final third area to find the finish as they win it back in midfield again. Here's Gordon this time. Well marked out of the game all afternoon, to be honest. And Senesi gets the better of him as Gordon's left on his backside. Here come Bournemouth. Evan Nielsen does well to hold it up. Plays it out wide to Semenyo. Bournemouth not coming forward with great kind of essence at the moment. And Semenyo does battle well and does win the corner off Lloyd Kelly. And another corner for Bournemouth incoming. Epic NUFC EYT says playing awful. Might take a few weeks before we kick into gear this season. It might do. It might do indeed. But if you get a result here, it will be a massive result considering the balance of the game. And let's see. Bournemouth have a corner to take. The longer they do fail to find a second goal, Bournemouth, there's still a lot of hope in this one for Newcastle. Here's Tavernier, who scored the first goal. We'll take this corner. In-swinger this time, left-footed. Delivered right across goal, and Pope there to palm it away again. Kluivert brings it down once more in the box. There's a visit across. Senesi was there, but he couldn't reach it. As Guimaraes tries to clear it away for Newcastle, but Kluivert ultimately penalised for that challenge. And a free kick goes Newcastle's way. As Newcastle are going to make more subs. Already made a double substitution. They're going to make another two at this moment in time. Sean Longstaff is going to make way. And Lloyd Kelly is going to follow him. So it will be... I'm not sure at this moment in time. It is Lewis Hall and Joe Willock are going to come on for Newcastle. So Joe Willock and Lewis Hall replacing Sean Longstaff and Lloyd Kelly. Here's Guimaraes. Down the left it comes to Barnes. Through the lines, finds Willock to Lewis Hall. Hall with a cross, back post, off the line by Marcus Senesi. Better from Newcastle. The substitutes instantly involved. Hall, Willock. Now Byrne. In feed to Lewis Hall again. Bit of space opening up. Plays it across to Guimaraes. Finds the run of Harvey Barnes. Flicked forward for Gordon. Gordon trying to play it across. Comes back to Barnes. Barnes with the delivery. Back post again. The header is a great save by Neto. It was Joe Linton that got up for the header. Fabulous. And a wonderful save by Neto to deny him. But certainly, in this last minute or two, Newcastle have had two very good opportunities to find a leveller. On both occasions, a clearance off the line and a save off the line have denied them. Again, it was instant impact from Joe Willock, and Lewis Hall flicked it to the back post. Isak with a header, cleared off the line by Senesi. And then the next one, it was Barnes' ball across from the left-hand side, and it was Joe Linton at the back post this time heading it on. And a really good save by Neto to deny Newcastle again. But if this continues, Newcastle could find themselves getting something out of this. It looks like Wolves have given up and surrendered their chances of getting anything out of their game, because Chelsea have just scored a fifth goal, and Noni Madueke completes his hat-trick. Not the only player to get a hat-trick, and Cole Palmer has added a hat-trick of assists as well. That partnership seems to be flowing pretty wonderfully in the second half for Chelsea. 3 goals scored by Noni Madueke, all set up by Cole Palmer. And a very good second half sees Chelsea with a bit of daylight at Molineux. It is Wolves 2, Chelsea 5. As Bournemouth are going to make subs of their own now. So the debut of Evan Nilsson sees him without a goal. He's had one or two good opportunities to try and find a debut goal, but wasn't to be. Kluivert follows him, and Sinisterra and Ouattara are on in their places. So Dango Ouattara and Luis Sinisterra replacing Evan Nilsson and Justin Kluivert for Bournemouth to add a bit more attacking quality, to maybe force that second goal and maybe take the sting out of the game and settle Bournemouth a bit more in the latter stages. Less than 20 minutes to go. Still only Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 0. There's the ball over the top from Senesi. Tried to find the substitute Ouattara, but Nick Pope got there first. Epic NUFC says, I just can't see any points for this game for us at all. Newcastle looking to loan Madueke apparently. Well, certainly Chelsea might need to get a few players off their books in terms of having squad depth. They've certainly got squad depth, but squad happiness might be a problem. I don't think Madueke will go anywhere if he's performing like that for Chelsea, like he is today. Getting a hat-trick. Barnes out to the left-hand side of Lewis Hall. Joe Linton. Guimaraes riding a few challenges, trying to feed it through. Here's Willock, has his shot blocked. Just bounces out. Ouattara to clear away. Again, Bournemouth can't get out at the moment. It's Newcastle that are starting to dominate a bit more as the ball into the box. Senesi takes control and hooks it away. Burns sends it back the way it came. Brought down by Kraft. Now down Byrne. Could be a strong end of the game for Newcastle. Guimaraes. Nice ball to find Barnes. Barnes on the left. Seen away by Iraola. Back with Willock. Willock with a ball into the box. Too high for Trippier. Joe Linton will recover. Trippier trying to find Joe Linton, but Dango Ouattara followed him all the way and put it out for the throw. And the last 10 minutes certainly showing a lot more for Newcastle. Bournemouth 1 shot, Newcastle 4, 1 on target, and dominating possession as well. 70% in Newcastle's favour. Dominant in possession as Willock takes a tumble off his own accord there, as Iraola picks up the ball, looks to feed it forward. One for, I think that was Sinisterra to chase, but he couldn't reach it. Just evaded him at the last second, and Newcastle can recover it. Certainly gone a bit loose with their passing in the last few minutes, Bournemouth. It's kind of the pendulum of the momentum of this game has swung in Newcastle's favour in the last few minutes. Since those substitutions, Joe Linton, Gordon, Trippier, trying to go for the 1-2 with Anthony Gordon, but closed down well by Dango Ouattara. And Trippier gone down there, maybe wanting a free kick, but the referee moved on that one. Newcastle did win the throw-in though. 15 minutes to go. A narrow 1-goal lead for Bournemouth here on the South Coast. Is it going to be enough to secure victory? Or will Newcastle have something of their own to take out of this game? Here's Lewis Hall. Kraft. Trippier around the corner. Nice work from Joe Linton against Senesi, wins the throw. Certainly improved since the substitutions, Joe Linton. Maybe it was positionally, he was in the wrong area. He was really struggling, he was, in that midfield area, but he's gone a bit further forward slightly, Joe Linton, since those substitutions, and he's picking up the ball in better areas and controlling a lot better as Hall finds it down the left to Barnes. Iraola watching him all the way. Barnes trying to find a way past the Bournemouth right back. Does lift the ball into the box in the back post. And it's in by Anthony Gordon. I told you those back post crosses were causing a threat. And this time Anthony Gordon sees it in to give Newcastle the leveller. They'd been pushing for it and they have found it. Barnes with a cross. Anthony Gordon with a goal. And Newcastle back on terms. Really good delivery by Barnes. It's those crosses from the left-hand side were causing Bournemouth problems since the substitutions, and they just weren't clearing them. Joe Linton had a free header. Isak had a free header. This time, it's just being a poacher at the back post. It's a really good delivery by Barnes. It just dips. It falls down. Perfect onto the right foot of Gordon, who just taps it past the Bournemouth player in there. I think it was... might have been Kerkez at the back post. Doesn't matter who. All that matters for Newcastle is their back level. And they're certainly not going to bet against getting a chance at a winner here. Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 1. Bournemouth want to win it themselves. Goodness me, what a shot. Just wide from Alex Scott. Another one of those substitutes linking up. And Scott just sees the space open up. And it just tries to find that top left corner. And it just goes wide. Very, very close that time. Goodness me. That was a massive effort. And if that had went in, it really would have been a sucker punch to Newcastle, who'd find themselves back level just seconds earlier. Could have found themselves behind again. But with just over 12 minutes to go, I'm guessing it'll be a shootout for a winner here. As here comes Ouattara. Sinistera leaves it, finds Tavernier. Now Semenyo. Semenyo! Just wide again. Low one hard, trying to find the bottom left corner. This time Antoine Semenyo. And he just goes wide. Steps it up. Lewis Hall gives him too much space. And the shot goes through the legs of Lewis Hall and takes a slight deflection, which carries it wide. Bournemouth wanted a corner. Initially they weren't given a corner, but the officials have given the corner now. Slightest of touches it was. So a corner on the left-hand side for Bournemouth. Right-footed delivery into the box. Flicked on by a Newcastle player, I believe. But it took a last touch off Dango Ouattara. And goes behind for a goal kick. Yeah, Ouattara was there. And it goes behind for a goal kick. Comes to nothing for Bournemouth. Well, last week Bournemouth find themselves 1-0 down for quite a distance of the game at Nottingham Forest, and they were the beneficiaries of a late equaliser. They could be on the end, well, they're on the end of the exact same thing this week. They led for such a long time, couldn't find that second that would have given them a bit of room, a bit of daylight in the game, a bit of comfort and control. And they end up conceding an equaliser. It's not over yet though. They're coming forward. A renewed sense of hope from Bournemouth since conceding that goal. Here's Semenyo trying to eke the space, but again closed down well there. Oh, that's a wasted pass from Newcastle, keeping the pressure on them. Iraola with a throw in. Cook back to Senesi. Cook to Zabarni. 10 minutes to go, 1-1. Bournemouth took the lead through Marcus Tavernier in the first half, and Anthony Gordon got Newcastle back on level terms in the last few minutes. Anybody's guess as to who will win this one? Or will it be a back-to-back 1-1 draw for Bournemouth in their first two games of the season? Here's Gordon. Does go for the cross. Comes off the Bournemouth defender. Will be a corner. The momentum certainly with Newcastle. Can they make it count? Gordon, who won the corner, will be taking the corner on the right hand side. A couple of players eyeing up for this cross. Gordon's delivery into the box. Willock was the closest, but Senesi cleared it away. Not fully though, as Bournemouth now clear their lines, but not very far. As Gordon picks it back up. Goes for the cross. Deep one this time, flicked on! And Neto just got a hand to it. Just about denying Dan Byrne A really good goal. Lovely delivery by Gordon. Burn on the end of it. And a flapping effort at it from Netzo. Gets his right hand up to it. And he just parries it wide. That came very close for Newcastle there. Trippier to take this corner. Left hand side for Newcastle. Right footed delivery. Deep to the back post. Again, Bournemouth got up there. Headed that one behind for another corner. Zabarny that time. Get on the end of it. Another Newcastle corner. The momentum certainly with the visitors. Pushing for that late winner here on the south coast. Another Trippier delivery. Again, headed away by Bournemouth. And will bounce behind for a fourth successive Bournemouth corner. Or Newcastle corner, sorry. This time it was Scott, I think, that had that one behind. Trippier to deliver again. Flicked away by Bournemouth, who got the first connection again, but Gordon back in there, and the overhead kick from Guimaraes went well wide. Never going to be threatening the keeper there. Epic says, watching the stream gave us luck. Any other ones I watched, we were playing awful. Glad we could be of assistance. Iraola picks up the loose pass from Newcastle, wanting to break that momentum. Semenyo. Infield to Cook. Scott. Comes down the left-hand side, finds Ouattara. Kerkez on the overlap. Ouattara will cross it himself, and Semenyo was there, but just too high. And Lewis Hall had to head it behind for the corner. That was a wonderful cross by Ouattara. And Semenyo again sneaking in round the back post, just too high as it dipped at the last second. And Lewis Hall headed it behind, taking no risks there. The young left back. Corner for Bournemouth. 6 minutes plus additional time to go. Anybody's guess as to what will be the outcome here on the south coast at the Vitality. Left-footed delivery from the corner, and comfortably into the hands of Nick Pope, the Newcastle keeper. Byrne goes long up the midfield. Isak trying to come deep to pick it up. Stolen away from him. Nice work from Scott. Finds Tavernier round the corner, trying to find Sinisterra in behind, but Hall does well to battle off Luis Sinisterra. And Sinisterra committed and trying to win it back. Forces it out for a Newcastle throw. As Bournemouth want to make another double change. So they've made 3 changes. These are the last 2. Marcus Tavernier, their goal scorer this afternoon for Bournemouth. He's going to be replaced. Adam Smith coming on for Iraola, and Daniel Jebison is going to replace Tavernier. So Jebison and Smith on, Tavernier and Iraola off for Bournemouth. Some fresh legs up front and some fresh legs at the back for Bournemouth. Solidify them and also try and give them a bit of hope and a chance at trying to win this late on. It's been a good battle in the last kind of 15-20 minutes, but for the majority of the game it was Bournemouth on top. Here's Anthony Gordon off the right hand side, looking to weave his way through, looks to chip it across. Smith instantly involved. As Cook was there too. And now Scott misses his kick, but does get the better of Gordon the second time round. Alex Scott is taken out there by Anthony Gordon. Free kick to Bournemouth. As I mentioned, don't forget another Premier League game coming your way very shortly. Second of our double header this afternoon at Anfield. Arne Slot's first league game in charge of Liverpool at home. Sees them take on Brentford, and Thomas Frank and a few maybe of their old players could be making an appearance. Liverpool, after signing both Sepp van den Berg and Fabio Carvalho from Liverpool. Brentford could make an appearance today. That is a 4:30 kickoff at Anfield. Burn closed down well there by Sinisterra, but again another throw in for Newcastle. And it's certainly no question as to where the points are going at Molineux. It's not been a question for very, very long in this second half. Chelsea have had the control of it vast majority of the second half, and it looks like they're scoring all of their goals today because their new signing, or their new re-signing at a second spell at the club, João Felix, has added himself to the score sheet in the 80th minute. It is 6-2 to Chelsea. They've absolutely unleashed on Wolves today. A wonderful day for Chelsea, making up for that defeat last week, and certainly scoring a hat full of goals. It's Wolves 2, Chelsea 6 at Molineux. Certainly wasn't going to see that at half-time. Certainly was not expecting that scoreline at the break. But there we are, 6 on the day for Chelsea. As Senesi finds himself in the book there for a challenge. Last 2.5 minutes or so of this one here at the Vitality, plus any additional time. Bournemouth 1, Newcastle 1. Newcastle free kick high up on the right hand side. Lots of bodies in and around there for Newcastle. Trippier to deliver, right footed. Burn flicks it back in. Again, not much to deal with there, as Barnes keeps it alive though. Comes to the byline, chops it back across, and Neto was there to grab onto the ball with both hands, and Dan Burn's going to get a yellow card for a late challenge on the goalkeeper. An unnecessary challenge on Neto there from Dan Burn. Sees him in the book. His second yellow card of the season. First of the afternoon, of course. As Newcastle make their fifth and final substitution, and sees Anthony Gordon there. The man getting them a point out of this one at the moment is going to be replaced by Miguel Almiron. So a straight swap there on the right hand side for Newcastle. Senesi tries to go long, cleared away that time in the midfield by Newcastle as the visitors win a throw-in down the right-hand side, last minute of the 90. Kraft, back to Pope. Now Burn, a bit overhit, does reach for it, Burn. Now Willock, trying to speed away from his marker, Lewis Cook, and he does down that left flank. Here's Willock. Steps across, finds Guimaraes. Lots of bodies forward for Newcastle as it's fizzed out by Guimaraes, out to Trippier. Played to Joe Linton first time. Guimaraes again. Look to measure one, and a great save by Neto, denies him. That was a good effort by Bruno Guimaraes. Wonderful left-footed effort, and it's a great right hand from Neto to deny him what would be a wonderful goal on a corner for Newcastle. 4 added minutes at the end of the 90 then. As Newcastle have the momentum, and have the chances, and probably could have a second goal. Still 1-1 it remains. Trippier to take this corner, left-hand side. Right for the delivery. First connection from Bournemouth. Back into the box it comes as Newcastle try and keep it alive. Fizz back out to Trippier on the left. Skips past his opponent, Jebison. Right footed delivery to the back post. Cleared away by Bournemouth again. As Newcastle again try and feed it back in, but Senesi was all over Joe Linton there as Bournemouth again hook it clear, and it's anywhere will do at the moment for Bournemouth. Trippier trying to go into the box, and a collision there. Bournemouth come away with the ball. Ouattara to Semenyo. Nice angle. Semenyo trying to break forward for Bournemouth. He's been threatening all day. Semenyo feeds it into the path of Sinisterra, who has the shot saved by Pope. And another corner coming Bournemouth's way in a moment. End-to-end football at the minute. Right to the last second, it's unpredictable as to who could have a winning goal. And Bournemouth have a corner of their own here. Sinisterra's shot saved by Pope. As we will have just over 2 minutes left to go with a 4 added. Will there be late drama once again on the south coast? There was yesterday as Brighton were beat Manchester United in the 95th minute. Is there a similar idea on here for one of these two? Cook to take the corner. Flicked on and in! There is to be late drama. And it's the substitute, Dango Ouattara, that could have sealed the points for Bournemouth. Newcastle have been the better side since equalising, but Bournemouth step up from the corner and Dango Ouattara seemingly winning it at added time. And it is the home crowd that are the happier and could be leaving this one the happier. Late drama on the south coast again. Lovely delivery by Cook, and Ouattara, the first to react, jumps up, free header, and just pops it into the net. Lovely header. Newcastle should do so much better. It might have actually just come off Dan Burn last there. I think Ouattara will still get the goal, but it looks like, I don't think Bournemouth will care who got the goal. It's that they got it in the first place. But there's VAR checking for a possible handball. See this again. Oh, that looks tight. I think you just let this lie if I were VAR. See it again. It just might come off the shoulder of Ouattara onto Dan Burn maybe. See it again. It comes off both players at the same time, I would say there, Ouattara and Dan Burn. I don't think it hits his arm. I don't think there is a handball here. From what I can see, this looks too uncertain to call, and I think you should just let it lie. And the recommendation is handball. I'm baffled. And the referee is going to go over to Andoni Iraola, who is absolutely doing his nut on the sidelines. And you can... He's going to give the yellow card to the Bournemouth head coach. We believe the goal has been disallowed. Or has it been given? I think it has been given. So much confusion. The referee pointed something. See this again. It looks to me too... They've ruled it out. Wow. That's shocking. There's so much confusion whether they give it or didn't give it. It was baffling there. The referee pointed to the spot but also pointed to the hand. It's not been given, I can confirm. No goal is the decision. But I am baffled as to how or why. I don't understand it. As Newcastle up the other end just couldn't reach it. I think that's the first howler of the season. I don't think that's the right decision. And we could talk all day about it. I don't want to have VAR intervention. I don't think VAR needed to get involved there. I don't think there was anything wrong. They said it was handball, but it looked like it came off the shoulder of Ouattara. And that's not handball. We're well over the 4 added minutes, and we certainly have late drama of some sort here. We thought they'd got a winning goal for Bournemouth. Not to be in the end, it seems. I think the Bournemouth manager's still going crazy in the sidelines, and I totally agree. I mean, we don't agree with him going nuts because he's going to get a red card here. And Andoni Iraola. But I think to be honest, I don't blame the Bournemouth manager. He's rightfully angry because the decision is wrong. From what you could say, it doesn't matter what objective, subjective, whatever you want to call it. It's not handball. Simple as that. If it comes off the shoulder of the player, that's not handball. And if the VAR are uncertain about that, or can't see a clear, obvious problem with the decision of giving the goal, why get involved in the first place? We had very little problem with VAR last week. And maybe they're just rearing its ugly head again. As we're still playing here, by the way. It's still playing into the 98th minute of this one. They don't want to give it up yet, Bournemouth. They maybe feel justice might be due to come as they get a free kick here. The game's gone to pot now. It's just scrambling everywhere. Bournemouth do have a free kick. This might be their last chance if they want to rescue a win. And Iraola wasn't given a red card. It was one of his assistants that was given a red card, by the way. So Andoni Iraola got a yellow, but one of his assistants was sent packing down the tunnel because Iraola is still on the bench. So he's clearly not been red carded. So free kick taken, lifted into the box, flicked on by Senesi, as that one's cleared away by Joe Linton. And there is the final whistle. And boos ring around the Vitality Stadium, not because of their team's performance, but what they feel was an undue disallowing of a perfectly good goal. And I have to say, you'd struggle to find anybody that would disagree with that. I think that was a wrong decision, but ultimately, Bournemouth have to take it. That's the harsh reality of idiots, really. To be honest, no need to get VAR involved, and this will continue this debate all throughout the rest of this weekend and for weeks to come. David Coote and the assistant saw nothing wrong with that on field. VAR rearing its ugly head again for no necessary reason to just ruin Bournemouth's day. Just not necessary at all. It was never handball. There was no need to get involved. Disgraceful decision. Final score at the Vitality Stadium after Bournemouth could have found themselves behind. Remember, Newcastle had a lot of chances to try and get the winner themselves, but surely in the end, probably a draw is maybe a fair result on the basis of things. But I think we'll talk about this for days to come and weeks to come. That goal was not a handball and should not have been disallowed. I don't think that's a handball. I'm looking at it time and time again. I have no idea what they've seen. And we do have this new kind of Premier League match centre. And they will, of course, inform why the decision was made. They haven't yet, but they will in due course. And we will update you as that happens. Right, so Bournemouth have to settle for a point then in the end against Newcastle, who will feel they were pretty lucky to come away with something out of this game because they've been pretty awful. The vast majority of the game, Newcastle, but they stepped up and Anthony Gordon got what was the equaliser in the end. Ouattara thought he'd won it. We all thought he'd won it, but VAR intervening, in my opinion, unnecessarily and disallowing the goal for Bournemouth. They're still playing at Molineux, by the way. It is Wolves 2, Chelsea 6. No question as to where the points are going there. And we will confirm that result for you when we come back for our second game of the day, which sees Liverpool take on Brentford at Anfield. Arne Slot's first home league game in charge of Liverpool as the new manager. And they have Thomas Frank's Brentford as the visitors for this one. Kick-off at 4:30. We'll be live in around 20 minutes' time. Do stay then. Thanks for your company. See you very shortly.